Welcome to Social Curiosity Podcast. I am your host, D'Angelo Verse, where we explore the depths of human behavior, personal stories, and relationships to uncover the fascinating layers of who we are. I had the privilege of sharing a stage with an awesome guy named Justin Atherton, and we built a connection. And let me tell you about Justin. All right, I can just ramble on, but let me tell you about Justin. And he is a former SWAT officer and detective turned leadership strategist. How cool is that? He's the vice president of proactive leadership and founder of Confidence Unchained. As a TEDx speaker, Justin teaches leaders how to interrogate themselves, and not just leaders, but people in general, how to interrogate themselves to lead with better clarity and impact. His work empowers people to challenge their internal dialogue and perform under pressure. Justin, welcome to Social Curiosity Podcast, brother.
Thank you, D'Angelo. I'm looking forward to the conversation, man.
Oh, me too, man. I can imagine that the work that you do, that you've done, is very rewarding, and then being able to take that experience and translate it into leadership and helping people, I'm sure that has a lot of meaning for you, and it's very interesting too, man.
Yeah, it is very, very interesting. And like we were chatting about before we got on here, man, like it is such a great feeling to be able to, do this work and help others and see the impact that we get to have when we have these conversations with each other. I think, and I think you agree with me, that's my favorite part, having those one-on-one conversations, seeing that immediate impact on whether it's a leader or just having a conversation with someone to help them raise to that next level.
I agree, Justin. I agree 100%. All right. How to interrogate yourself. This is very interesting to me. Interrogate yourself is a bold phrase, right? Sure. So help us understand, what does it actually mean in your framework? And how did your time as a detective shape that concept?
So in law enforcement, interrogating, we're trying to get to the truth. In the classes I teach, it's all about getting to truthful, accurate, detailed information, right? And so when you're interrogating yourself, it's about finding out, are you being authentic? Are you putting out truthful, accurate, detailed information, or are you just undermining what your goals and your values are? Because we can all read between the lines when we have these conversations with people. And so it's about bringing awareness to the words that we're using and the conversations that we have to align ourselves with our values and our aspirations.
Okay. I like that. And so interrogations in essence aim to uncover the truth. Right?
Yes.
All right. And so when people are interrogating themselves, right, what kind of truths are they usually avoiding and why?
So a lot of it comes down to the words we use and how we say things we think we want or need, but it may just be something that we're saying that sounds good or that we think the other person needs to hear. And so we make these little minor promises either to ourselves or to others with no intention of following through with them. And we do it out of almost a level of politeness. And so, again, that level of awareness to be able to understand, like, am I leading with authenticity and clarity, or is it coming out of fear and obligation? And so being able to ask yourself those good questions. Do I really want this? Is this something I want to push forward? Am I giving myself a way out? Asking those type of questions to yourself can help align you with your goals to actually make some forward progress.
Give me an example of a situation or maybe a person that you've coached or even in your own life where that interrogation kind of brought out some truth that maybe you were avoiding or hiding.
Sure. So The biggest feedback I've gotten, so when I teach the specific words that people use, it's in the structure of what I call the wave method: words, awareness, verification, and engagement. But the words themselves, one of the biggest aspects are focusing on what I call stop action verbs. These are words such as like try, started, plan to, meant to, want to, need to, love to. These all give us a plan B. If you say, I'm going to try to go to the gym today, well, you're telling yourself I may not make it. It's okay if I don't, or I'll plan to eat better. You're telling yourself, well, maybe, if it's convenient, I will. And so that's the biggest area where I've had feedback from clients or people that I've brought to their awareness. They realize I'm telling myself I'll try to do this, I want to do this, and they never have any follow through. And so getting that feedback to where they're like, I hear it now. And now I'm able to follow through with my actions. I think it was actually the same day as the talk that we gave. One of the people in the audience, she came up to me and was talking about how she was having these conversations with her son, and he was accusing her of lying because she was using those words. I'll try to do this. I want to do this. I need to do this. And her son was pointing out to her, you have no follow through. And she came to me and shared her story and started crying. And she's like, now I know what he's talking about. Now I can have that level of awareness and change my language to be more purposeful and action oriented rather than just circling the drain.
I have some psychological reasons why I believe we do that, but I'd like to hear from your standpoint as a trained SWAT officer and detective. Why do you think people do that? Why do we use words and then that such as try or those kinds of things? And then also walk us through that model that you talked about that you developed, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, the wave method. Yeah. So why do people use this? I come at it a lot from a leadership perspective, right? Because I train leaders, I've been in leadership positions, and I've seen a lot of horrible leaders along the way. I've probably learned more from the bad leaders than I have the good ones over the years, what not to do. Right?
Wow.
And what it seems like to me, it's an aspect of this imposter syndrome. It's like, I'm in this leadership role. I have this title, this position, and I feel like I have to behave and speak in a certain way that maybe is not aligned with my base values and drive. And so you have these people that get in these positions that say, well, we'll try to do this. I want to do this, because they think that they're giving the message that their team wants to hear, and they're trying to assert a level of confidence. But what happens is we all hear it. Because if our boss says, yeah, we'll try to work on that project, we all hear, nah, that's probably not going to happen. Right. And so the leader, it's more powerful to be completely truthful and authentic and say, hey guys, there's still a lot of things in the works. This is something that we want to do moving forward. I don't know if it's going to happen because there's still some obstacles that we have to overcome. As soon as I get some information to move us forward, I'm going to share it with the team. Why not be more honest about it? So yeah, we'll try to do this. We plan to do this. These vague answers, because they're fearful that they look stupid or a lack of confidence. So that's what I see the most. I'm curious on your insight on this.
Yeah, I think it gives us a way out, right? It gives us a door just in case we fail, or there may be a lack of security even in accomplishing a goal. So therefore, we kind of move in this self-handicapping kind of way, just in case, right? And it's to protect my self-esteem. It's to protect my need to interpret the world accurately, those kinds of things. And so at the core of it, I think there's some self-centeredness to protect myself just in case. You get what I'm saying? Just in case. So your method, give us a little bit more insight with that.
So the
So
wave method. So the first aspect is the words. We have to know what the words are that are the most impactful that undermine us. And so I shared a list. So those are the stop action verbs. We also have absolutes, which are words like always, never, every, always, everyone. When we have, most of the time these show up in arguments. D'Angelo, you always do this, or
yeah.
you never do this, right? And
Yeah.
they're never accurate, right?
Yeah.
It's never 100%. It's never zero, right? There's some kind of gray area. If
Well, you
we
talking about white
argue,
kids right now, boy.
so if we ever argued with some reasonable accuracy, our arguments would be hilarious. It'd be like, well, 90% of the time you do this. Well, no, that's not accurate because I've calculated it out and it's only 85% of the time that I do this, right? So
Yeah.
absolutes are a big one where we exaggerate what's going on, whether in a positive or a negative light. Another category of words would be equivocations. These are words along the lines of I might, maybe, I kind of. They're just undermining language that is not conducive to taking action, right? It's like, well, I maybe I'll do this. I kind of want to do this. Rather than just being honest with someone, are you going to make it to my party on Friday, D'Angelo? Well, yeah, I might make it. Well, I would rather you say, hey, no, I have a prior, engagement I have to go to. This is how it needs to go down because I'm not going to be able to make it. Rather someone be honest with us than that flaky friend that always says I might and they never do it. So the first aspect is understanding all of the words. Next is having that level of awareness. Like we have to be able to interrupt the thought as it's coming out of our mouth. So if I'm talking to someone and say, I want to go to the gym today. No, I will go to the gym today. I have to interrupt it because this. Our subconscious is always listening to us. And the more that we feed it this undermining language, the more it's going to act accordingly. So rather than even completing the sentence, you have to cut yourself off and say, no, I will go to the gym today. Well, I'm planning on eating better. No. From now on, I will eat better. Right.
Yeah.
And you end up behaving completely different. And what's funny is because I still catch myself doing this. I'm not immune to this. This is a constant work in progress. I can't say, oh, I never use, absolutes or equivocations. No, I'd still do it on a regular basis. It's just I have a level of awareness around it now to where when I have a conversation, I say, yeah, I'm going to try to do. I'm like, wait, I will do this. But almost in that pause, you're asking yourself another question. And part of the interrogation, do I want this? Is this something that I want to use my time, my valuable resource on, right? Or is it something that I don't want to commit to, right? So that using this undermining language should be a red flag to where we start asking ourselves more questions. Do I really want this? Is this something I want to, plan my day around? Or is it just something that I'm saying because it sounds good? It sounds good to tell someone, yeah, I'm going to try to go to the gym today. No. Well, in my world, I will go to the gym every day because that's something I've built into my life, right? So in that pause, there's other levels of questions we can interrogate ourselves with. The verification of the wave method, this comes down to like our text messages and emails. Because we need to give ourselves time to, like, I reread the emails I send, especially when they're going to go to numerous people. Is there any undermining language in here? Can it be read in a different way? So we have to verify all of this content before we send it out. And there's times I edit an email or text message multiple times because I don't want the message to come out in a way where it can be perceived as this isn't going to follow through. This person is wishy-washy. I don't trust them, because when we start reading an email that has all of these undermining language pieces in it, I'm not going to trust that person. Well, D'Angelo, we're going to try to meet that deadline and we'll work on, your requests and we want, to be in this partner. It's like, well, all of this lacking language that we're using, right? And then the last piece, and to me, this is the most effective way to practice using content analysis to help with your awareness and interrogate yourself, is have an accountability partner, like engage with someone else. And whether it's a spouse, a coworker, someone that's like, hey, I want you to hold me accountable, like share the content with them. These are the words that I will stop using moving forward. But if you hear me, D'Angelo, if you hear me say try, man, I need you to point it out to me.
Yeah.
And sometimes that person was like, well, hey, I'll do it with you. Now, I wouldn't suggest that you go to your wife and say, we're both going to do this, and start pointing out, hey, you said try, you said want to, you said need. No, don't do that.
Yeah.
So that's the wave method in a short version.
You're making me think about the messages that I've sent to you here recently just to get you on the podcast. Okay, all right, Justin, check this out. Like, what are the top internal lies or unchallenged assumptions that you've seen people tell themselves that sabotage their effectiveness?
The top ones. I think there's a lot of it around, I have all the answers, or maybe my team knows what I mean. Or I think a lot of people think that they're more clear with their instructions and their requests than they really are. And so that's where a lot of frustration comes in. And this could be personal as well. This could be in relationships, communication between a husband and wife. It's like, well, I said this. It's like, well, you said that, this is what I heard, right? If we're not speaking clearly and we're not, making sure that we get some level of feedback, then the message isn't connecting. So to me, the biggest lies that I've seen are just that I have all the answers. That's those micromanagers, those potential narcissists, that they don't build that cohesive team because they're afraid of looking weak, looking like they're incompetent. And so I think those are the biggest ones that pop out to me.
This reminds me of what's called bias blind spot. All right.
Okay.
It's the sense in which someone feels that they don't have any biases, right? Like everyone else is biased except for me. So Justin, you're biased, but I don't have any biases, right? And so I like this because what it does is it helps us to identify common pitfalls and self-deceptions that hinder not only our growth, but also the growth of others.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's probably one of the top internal lies and unchallenged assumptions, is that everybody's biased except for you. You know what I mean? So Justin, you've trained to perform under pressure, right? Like in literal life or death situations. So what can the everyday person learn from high stress environments about mastering their internal dialogue?
Well, to me, pressure reveals who's done the work. Because there's an idea that people think that we're going to show up when it matters, right? But what really happens is people fall to their lowest level of preparation, preparation or training. And if you are not practicing the skill sets to be able to operate during a stressful situation on a regular basis, you are not going to be able to flip that switch when the time comes, right? So because composure isn't natural, it's trained, it's a learned thing. To be able to rehearse being calm and having clarity and being able to have that level of command in your mind, but before the pressure hits, that's where the real power comes from. And being able to interrogate those fears, those stories, those assumptions that normally hijacked our focus, because we can't lead others through chaos if we're still lost in our own.
Yeah.
Right. And so those moments of pressure, like we have to practice the skill sets beforehand, because we can't wait until that stressful moment to say, I'll rise to the occasion, because that's not what really happens.
I imagine you got some stories, and being a detective, like, can you elaborate on maybe a story or two that where if you hadn't already practiced the pressure beforehand when you're placed in the situation, um,
Mm.
what that might have looked like had you not practiced it?
Yeah, one comes to mind from a SWAT raid that we did, and I literally, as I'm thinking about it, I literally got chills thinking
Mm.
about this. So this was a pretty big house that we were assaulting this morning, and I'll fast forward through most of it, but I was a breacher when I was on the SWAT team. That means I opened the door for the team, so I was the one knocking on the door and letting everybody else in first. So, but this day we had two separate teams. We were doing a dual breach. My job was to breach the garage door that was below where the suspect was. And as we're walking up, he's yelling at us, a lot of explicit, saying he's going to shoot us. And so I don't have a gun in my hand. I'm using one of my tools to breach this garage door, and I'm deadlifting this garage door. I'm trying to break this garage door up and open, and I got my partner with me, and luckily he was short, because he squats down, looks underneath the garage door that I've partially gotten up, and he says, "Gun." Everything in my body said, "Let go of this door and move. Go somewhere else," right? But I had to tell myself, that's not the mission. I got to trust my teammate, because I'm thinking, I don't have protection. Yeah, I got a vest on, but this guy starts shooting through this door.
Yeah.
I'm holding a garage door in my hands. That's currently what I'm doing. That fear hit me, right? And I'm like, nope, continue on with the mission. And I'm like, got this extra energy trying to break this garage door open. Luckily, the situation panned out fine. But that's one that sticks out to me as like conquering that fear in the moment, because I don't know. I've talked to police officers along the years, and anyone that says that they've never been afraid is either lying or they're too stupid to realize they were in a dangerous situation. Like, the fear's there. You just have to be able to manage it and act accordingly. So to me, that was one of the biggest ones, that training beforehand and preparation for a bad situation and trusting the people around you to do their job, that made everything run smooth.
I love it. That's good stuff, man. I'm sure you got a lot more stories that you could
I got
drop.
a few.
All right. So you talk a lot about clarity. What are the practical steps someone can take today to interrogate themselves and move from confusion to clarity?
Yeah, I'll go back to talking about the wave method. Like, you have to audit your own language. You have to understand when you're using these undermining words. So some clients I've worked with in the past, I've had them take a tally. Like, hey, here are the list of words to avoid. Take a tally of which ones stand out to you the most, which ones you use the most. One of my clients came back to me. He's like, I use kind of 25 times a day. And he's like, I have to stop using that, because it's undermining every conversation I've had with business, personal. Yeah, I kind of want to do that. Hey, I kind of want to work on this project. It's like, whatever context he was using it, that was the realization he came to. And so, again, it comes back to auditing your language, being aware of these words. And what's funny about this is I've had some people come back and say, is it really that big of a deal to say try or plan to? This is how we all talk. Like, this is just normal conversation. And I say, okay. So I challenge those people. I say, okay, go to your spouse. You walk up to them and say, I'll try to be faithful to you.
Oh, that's a good one.
How about I plan to be faithful to you?
Yeah.
Any of these, I meant to. Now we're getting really bad, right? You know, it's like any of these undermining words, like, we expect 100% certainty in that type of statement. I will be faithful to you. I am going to be faithful to you. And so, just because it's so common for us to use these undermining words, we know the impact on serious statements. And so it's important that we realize that that has an impact on everyone around us. It has an impact on ourselves, directing yourself in the action. I will go to the gym today. I am going to eat better. But if you're a parent, a leader, your team hears this stuff. And so you have to become extra aware of your own language so you are not undermining the conversation. And in a way, you're going to speak with more confidence and saying, we will do this. I am going to follow through with this. You will see how your own behavior changes. And then the people are going to start seeing you different. They're like, man, D'Angelo follows through with everything he says he's going to do.
Yeah. I can imagine that if we're doing this self-interrogation process, that our protective mechanisms will come up, right? So how does someone know when they've gone deep enough in self-interrogation, or when they're just spinning their wheels or being self-critical without progress?
Yeah, that's a powerful distinction, right? Because if we get too critical of ourselves and saying, oh, well, I never do this, and oh man, I'm saying it again, I can't get my language right. When it becomes to the point to where we're being self-critical without any action, that's the point to where maybe we need to talk that out with someone else, right? Because these minor corrections in our language, like, we should be able to go deep enough, ask ourselves, okay, I'm going to try to go to the gym today. Well, hey, do I really want to? Is this a goal that I have? Is this something that's going to serve me? Is this something I want to spend a lot of time and energy into? Is this something that's going to benefit me in other ways? If the answers are yes, okay, great. Change your language. I will do this. If not, if you're talking about a project or a concept that isn't going to serve you, or you don't want to spend time on, then you can clear up some space and some time and some resources. Be like, hey, look, maybe I don't want this. I don't want to work on this project, whatever it is. Now I can just say, no, I don't want to do this. I'm never going to lie to people about saying I want to do this ever again.
Yeah.
Some of it could be a relationship, but the point of self-interrogation is not judgment. It's awareness.
That's
to
good.
bring that level of clarity and forward progress. So, but if we're just sitting back critiquing ourselves and saying, I'm bad at this, I never do this, I'm sorry for this. I do this with my daughter quite often. She's very self-critical, and I pointed out to her, I said, hey, like, when I point out something that you need to correct, it's not me judging you or beating you up. I'm like, just fix it. This is me helping you learn, being your GPS. I can't make the turn for you, right? I can just say, hey, you need to make a U-turn here. You need to make a right here. It's just me being your guide, but it's not about judging. It's just saying, hey, we can make a course correction here, and it's not too late. So let's do that if it's something that makes sense within our values and our belief system.
For sure. All right, let's land this plane. If you, as a SWAT officer, detective, if you had to write a Miranda warning for the inner critic, that voice that we all carry, what would it say?
This one's funny. I love this one. So I'd say you have the right to be honest with yourself. You have the right to stop believing every negative thing you think. And anything you say to yourself can either build you up or break you down. And you have the right to challenge that inner voice. And if you don't, it'll keep running the show.
I love it, man. I love it. How can people connect with you, man? If they want to learn more about what you do, or just ask you some questions, how can they find you?
Sure. Best way to get a hold of me is on LinkedIn. They're Justin Atherton. Right now, my biggest focus is working with Proactive Leadership as the vice president and putting out trainings and workshops through them. So proactiveleadership.com is the main website that we're focusing on right now. We're revamping the website currently. Also through my personal website is justinwatherton.com is another way to get a hold of me. But LinkedIn, I'm on there all the time, making connections with people. So that's probably the number one way to reach out to me. And I love having conversations with people, even if it's just to go back and forth about body language or facial expressions or the self-interrogation. So I'd love to connect with anybody in your audience out there, D'Angelo.
And you can also watch Justin's TEDx talk. The what's the talk called? I know it's How to Interrogate Yourself, but the suspect within.
Yes, the suspect within.
Within How to Interrogate Yourself. You can watch Justin's TEDx talk. But to all my listeners, I hope you enjoyed this particular episode with Justin Atherton. And until next time, stay socially curious. Peace.